when you say 3-year-old, you also said something that made my antenna go up a lot, and that was branding expert. So who is the branding expert?
My neighbor, my current neighbor, who I'm good friends with.
All right. Today, my next guest next week, the first guest, her name is Ingrid Elfer, and she has a website called borncelebrity.com, and she is, in fact, a branding expert. I only reached out to, because I've known Ingrid, kind of passing the night, but I said, I love her. She has, she's Swedish, and, she's really interesting. She has a really interesting dynamic. And so today was the first time I talked to her. Branding expert. Today. And here you are, and there you go. Synchronicity. It's fascinating. And her office is in Beverly Hills, right? So, interesting. Now, I want to go back to Princess Megan. Long, far away from Europe, the castle somebody else is in. And you wake up in, where would this be, Wisconsin? Where will you be in when you're 3 years old?
Wisconsin, yep.
Okay, so you're in Wisconsin. All right, you're looking for a lake, trying to find out how to get back to the house. And what is that feeling like for you when you realize that these people don't get it? And I mean this sincerely. I'm not being facetious. I'm not being sarcastic. I mean this with every ounce of sincerity I can muster. What is it like for you as a 2- and 3-year-old child when you realize
what's it like for any 3-year-old?
Bozos?
Well, I love my family, by the way. I have, just FYI, everybody.
Right, but I mean, if they're not understanding.
No, I have the best family. It was frustrating as a kid because I'm like, how can you not understand this? It felt like, it felt like Quantum Leap. Like, what? Where am I? It was like, but they weren't very supportive of who I am. They just thought it was really funny, and it's just like any 3-year-old not feeling understood. It makes you really frustrated. You want to throw a tantrum. You feel misunderstood. You feel like you don't have a way of communicating what you're feeling.
So let's fast forward a bit. We've all seen 3-year-olds. Sometimes we just go, well, they're 3-year-olds. But you have these memories, you have these experiences when you're 3. You wake up 25 years later. You are what you are.
Mm-hmm.
And now you start to understand in an entirely different way what's triggering all this when you're 3. This is why this is a fascinating conversation for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, integrating that, because now you have multiple layers of information, multiple layers of emotional connection, really multiple avenues in which you have to process things. Now, from the place you're at now, with the understanding you have now, the insight, the psychic abilities, everything you have now, when you look back to you as a 3-year-old, wondering what's going on, how do you feel about that now?
Well, now I just think I was remembering past lives, and I think that was the one that came through first. I was also obsessed with fairies and cats and things. Some things I'm not even into anymore, but I think I was remembering snippets of past lives. I really do, including irrational fears are always a really big clue as far as past lives go. I remember being afraid to touch fire or be near it when I was really little.
You and me both. You and me both. Petrified of house fires. I can't tell you how.
Well, I think I was burned as a witch. I know I was hanged as a witch. So I've been persecuted, like Laura was talking about, a couple of times at least. As royalty, I have been beheaded. You get really weird physical sensations sometimes, or scars too from past lives. But you guys were talking about male and female, and I'm like, heck yeah! Like I have memories. I had dreams, a series of dreams when I was 11, 12 of being a knight, male knight. like full armor, broadsword. I believe I may have been French, and it may have been even in Joan of Arc's army, because when I was in France, everywhere we went, they went, I was like, this is familiar. It was
so
really
I'm going to
weird.
make kind of a bold statement here. It's not that bold. When I look at Laura, beautiful, amazing woman that she is, I see a man. I don't mean literally a man, but when I think of her as a past life sort of profile, I think she's primarily a male. When I look at you, I think that you're very rarely a male, that you're
correct,
super ultra female.
Yep, nine times out of 10.
I was just getting ready to say, like 80. I was getting ready to say 89 to 90% of the time. So there we go.
Yep.
You owe me a banana, by the way. When I'm in LA,
I owe you my free banana.
Okay, so it's an I'm going to focus on you and Laura because I think it makes an interesting kind of compare and contrast here. You have two incredibly attractive women. I don't mean to belabor this point, but I think it's an important point for for sort of my concept of the theme of the show. She's blonde, you're brunette, there's different kinds of things. But when I look at you two, on the surface, both beautiful, young, vibrant women. But when I go, I'm a clairvoyant, I look at her and I go, she's a man, primarily, who just happens to be in this really amazing female form right now. I look at you and I go, you're always a woman. When you're a man, it's like an accident almost. You are more female than I am male, and I'm primarily a male. I'm a very strong male, even though I was talking about a past life being Adrian Ames, perhaps. I'm really highly male energy. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
And I've been persecuted a lot for being a woman so much, because being a woman in all those time periods, even now too, but that was
no
tough.
place for you.
Right. You just don't have a lot of personal power unless you are very clever.
So when you look at history, you go, okay, if you're primarily a woman and you're a powerful person, then what exactly could you have done in 1610 to have exhibited that, right? So these are just kinds of questions that you start to look at in terms of the psychology of it. Mm-hmm. Now, thinking about
you know what,
it,
Andrew, I want to say part of my soul mission, just like Laura was talking about soul mission. Part of my soul mission, I feel like, is giving women a voice and letting women be integrated and kind of a new way feminism. It's not man-hating. It's really getting to be fully yourself, whatever that is. And I think that I've been working on this for 8 lives and lives and lives. I've been working on that.
No, I totally agree with that. And, Laura and I talked about this. That's how I see both of you. And I mentioned to Laura, especially younger women who are maybe, 15, 18, 20 years old, they want to be models, they want to be actresses, they want to understand, how to look pretty and how to get through the day and not have, people torment them. And yet they're intuitive too. Well, there are not that many people they can go to. Ding dong, there you two are. So I think that that's all, to me, by design. Now, so when you look at all the things that you bring to the table, especially if my prediction for where you're going to end up holds true, then that's going to make for a really interesting platform for you in terms of how you share this particular journey, this particular process. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about your mission statement, if you want to look at it that way? If that's an unfair question, tell me. But
no, I think it's great. I'll totally answer that. So I don't think I'm the only one here on the same mission. I believe there's a big soul group of us incarnating around this time, and a lot of us have come to Hollywood, and a lot of us are incarnated actresses.
You owe me another banana, by the way.
Okay. Andrew's always right. It just makes me crazy. Even when I think he's not, he's always right. So it's funny. The things I can't predict for myself, Andrew dead on, and Laura is dead on. Laura and I trade a lot. So anyway, I was talking about, like, we're in a soul group here, and we have similar missions, and we're teaming up. And here's, Andrew's a psychic actor, Laura's a psychic actor, I'm a psychic actor. We're not the only ones, but even the ones that don't, say they're psychic, like, I believe have a lot of intuition. And I think I'm kind of in the camp of Lena Dunham, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Mindy Lahiri, that camp of women, of strong female writers that are really, like, kind of paving the way for different body image types to be acceptable, for, women to have a voice, for women to be able to be funny. I think I'm part of that camp. And I think many of these actresses I've named and more, and even other ones that aren't in that same camp, tons of us have incarnated again. This is not our first time here in Hollywood. And what's weird is when I'm around different ones, I get different time period vibes. Like sometimes, like a friend of mine, Sarah, and I met her. She had just quit a gallery job, and she's an amazing astrologer. And we met at the Cicada Club, which is a great, it's a restored building that looks very Art Deco, and it's just incredible. If you all haven't been there, go check out Cicada Club. It's beautiful. But I met her there. We just started talking, and I suddenly felt like I was in the 20s. I'm like, gosh, I just feel like I'm in the 20s and 30s. And she and I'm just like, gosh, I feel like I knew you in the 20s and 30s. She got crazy goosebumps. She's like, oh, yes. And we had like weird past life connection. And she ended up quitting her job and becoming my fill-in assistant. Talk about synchronicity. Right when she needed a job, I needed a fill-in assistant because mine's writing on a show right now. So that worked out amazing. And I met Laura on an airline shuttle. Laura, who was the guest earlier, she and I met on a shuttle. I talked about this before, for the airlines, and we were both coming. It was around Christmas time. She was visiting Los Angeles. I was coming home from Christmas, and my guide said to me, talk to her, she's just like you. And I was like, what does that mean? So we start talking. We're both psychic mediums and actors and performers and singers, and we're like, are you kidding me? So that was like totally, when, Andrew, you were talking earlier about things being prearranged. Yeah, that one, my meeting Laura and my meeting you and a few others, was totally prearranged by the universe. I was the last one on that shuttle. And if I had missed it by 5 minutes, Laura and I wouldn't have this, incredible friendship. And it's nice to be able to talk shop with other psychic mediums, because if we have a weird profession, it's not like we can go out for a beer and talk to other, office 9-to-5 types easily. But
Laura just finds dead people, so she'll be okay.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, there's plenty of those in Hollywood bars. Let me tell you, I've had ghosts throw things when I'm around because they want to get my attention. And the bar attender is always like, well, they've never done that before. They know it's haunted. They're like, that's new. I'm like, it's the medium thing. They know.
Well, I'm going to harm. I'm going to say the word Casperville to you, because
Casperville.
I can't think of Los Angeles without it being haunted. What is it like for you? I'm going to give my take on who you are, because it's going to, well, you know me, so this isn't weird to you, but it may sound really bizarre to other people. As a reincarnated actress from L.A., who is now in L.A. as an actress again, who is psychic as can be, in the most haunted freaking place on the planet, dear God, what is that like for you? I mean, you talk about confusing. It has to be, there's days it has to be confusing to you. What is that like?
What's really weird is when there's spirit energy of the same time period you were around, it's almost like you think the ghost can recognize you from past lives, too. They're like, oh, hey, you're back. It's really weird. The weirdest thing for me is and I'm kind of a scaredy cat. Laura's this badass, guns blazing, kill the demons girl. And I'm more feminine. Like you said, I'm more like Mother Mary. Like the way I do come in as a psychic, it's a little different. I'm like Scooby-Doo. I'm like, I need a Scooby snack to go in there. I get scared. Not always, but I don't want to see dead people all the time. And I'm really good at shutting it down. But, what's weird for me is sometimes when I'm really tired and I can't, turn off my psychic ability totally, because, when you're tired, it's harder to turn it down, actually. It's almost like when you're had a couple of glasses of wine, it's hard to keep your mouth shut. it's like you're relaxed when you're really